Have you ever sat alone late at night, scrolled through old photos, and suddenly realized that the life you imagined at 50 looks different from the one you're living? Maybe the house is quieter. Calls from kids are shorter. Old friends don't show up like they used to. If you've ever felt that shift, this video is for you. Today, we're talking about 7 truths men often learn after 50. Some are heavy, some are freeing, but all of them spark growth. When men look back on their lives after 50, this realization hits harder than expected. Time with the kids was never about the toys, the gadgets, or the vacations that drained the bank account. It was about presence. Many men spend their prime years believing that providing financially is the same as providing emotionally. They equate love with sacrifice. Long hours at work, overtime, extra projects. They tell themselves, "I'm doing this for my family." But families don't remember the long hours. They remember the absence. There is a moment that sneaks up on fathers, usually when kids are grown and off living their own lives. They open old photo albums or scroll through pictures on their phone and realize something unsettling. In every picture of a birthday, game night, movie night, or school event, they can spot the balloons, the cake, the gifts. What they can't spot is themselves. They were busy working. Busy providing. They missed the slow, small moments that would have stayed in their children's hearts forever. Kids don't measure love in dollars. They measure love in eye contact, unhurried conversations, and how someone made them feel safe. A child won't remember that you paid for the most expensive bike. They will remember who taught them to ride it, who steadied the seat, who clapped when they finally balanced and pedaled on their own. For men, there's a quiet shock that arrives later in life. The house that once echoed with noise now feels still. The kids who once tugged at their sleeves for attention now answer texts with short replies. Not because they don't love their father, but because they learned what they lived. They learned that distance is normal, that people stay busy, that emotions stay quiet. But here's the bittersweet part. Kids don't hold grudges against fathers who were doing their best. They crave connection even in adulthood. When a father finally learns to say, "Tell me how you're really doing," something softens. The same presence that wasn't offered earlier can still show up now. Presence doesn't require deep conversations or grand gestures. Sometimes it's sitting at the kitchen table with coffee, listening without trying to fix anything. Sometimes it's watching a show together in comfortable silence. What matters is the feeling of "I'm here, and I care." Money buys moments, but presence creates memories. One fades. The other lasts. At some point, around the late 40s or early 50s, the motivation for staying healthy shifts. In younger years, exercise is driven by appearance. People care about muscle definition, fitting into certain clothes, or looking good in photos. But once a man crosses into this new stage of life, health becomes less about how he looks in the mirror and more about what his body allows him to experience. The focus moves from appearance to freedom. Freedom to travel without pain, to play with grandkids without needing to sit down every few minutes, to wake up without stiffness that dictates the rest of the day. There's something humbling about realizing your body now sends invoices for the habits of your past. Long years of stress, skipped meals, fast food between meetings, the idea that sleep was optional. The body remembers. Men often realize too late that they traded their well-being for productivity. And then a moment comes when the doctor pauses while looking at test results, or a simple activity like climbing stairs leaves them winded. That's the turning point when health stops being a vanity project and becomes a lifeline. Picture a man who spent years building his career. He retires, ready to enjoy the life he earned, only to discover his body can't keep up with the plans he's dreamed of. He wants to travel, but hours of walking are too hard. He wants to fish with his grandson, but getting in and out of the boat is painful. That's when it hits him. Success doesn't mean much if he can't physically enjoy it. And then there's another man. Not a gym guy. Not someone obsessed with fitness. He just decides to start walking every morning. Slow at first, out of breath after a few blocks. But he keeps going. One day, his granddaughter runs toward him and he kneels down easily to hug her. In that moment, he realizes what he's been training for. Not a six-pack. Not compliments. Just a full and active life. A healthy body at 50 isn't about looking younger, it's about not feeling older than you are. It's about bending down to tie your shoes without groaning. It's about waking up and knowing your day will not be controlled by pain. Strength becomes energy. Mobility becomes independence. Health becomes the doorway to every future memory. Men often grow up being taught that silence is strength. Keep emotions controlled, don't overreact, don't start problems. By the time they reach their 50s, that habit has turned into an entire communication style. Many men believe if no one is arguing, then everything must be fine. They sit in that quiet, thinking they're protecting the relationship. What they don't realize is that silence doesn't equal peace. Sometimes it equals distance. Silence can feel safe. No disagreements. No tension. No uncomfortable topics. When something bothers them, they push it aside because they don't want to make it worse. But avoidance doesn't make things disappear. It just buries them under layers of unspoken frustration until emotional closeness fades without anyone noticing. Imagine a couple sitting on opposite ends of the same couch. The TV is on, but they aren't talking. Not because they're angry, but because the rhythm of silence became their routine. Days turn into weeks, and slowly, they stop sharing thoughts, opinions, stories from work, or dreams for the future. They still care about each other. They still function as partners. But connection isn't broken all at once. It erodes quietly. Many men later admit that the emotional gap didn't happen in one big moment. It happened every time they swallowed their feelings instead of expressing them. Every time they chose silence instead of communication. Every time they thought, it's not worth the argument, they unknowingly built a small wall. What's heartbreaking is how often they believe their partner simply doesn't care anymore. Meanwhile, their partner may be sitting there wishing for closeness, waiting for a sign that he still wants to talk, still wants to be involved, still wants to be seen. There's a difference between quiet comfort and silent distance. Quiet comfort feels warm. Silent distance feels cold. Some men realize too late that peace was never the absence of conversation. Real peace is feeling understood. Real connection requires being known, not just being physically present. When men finally open up, something shifts. They ask their partner how they've really been. They share what's on their heart without trying to be perfect or strong. The relationship breathes again. Conversations become bridges. Arguments, when handled gently, become opportunities to grow closer. Silence may avoid conflict, but communication builds closeness. Real peace isn't found in avoiding hard conversations. It's found in having them and choosing each other anyway. There comes a point in life when men start to notice something they never expected. The phone stops ringing. Text messages slow down. Invitations become rare. It isn't sudden. It's gradual, almost silent. One day, they look around and realize the circle of friends they once relied on has faded into distant names in a contact list. Many assume friends drift away because they stop caring. But most of the time, it happens because everyone got busy, overwhelmed, or unsure how to reconnect. Friendships don't end with a fight. They fade when no one reaches out. Men often carry a quiet belief that friendships should survive on their own, that a good friend will always call, always check in, always remember birthdays or big moments. But relationships, even friendships, are like plants. They don't die from neglect all at once. They dry out little by little. When men stop initiating conversations, stop planning get-togethers, stop sending a quick, "How have you been?" message, the friendship loses momentum. Both sides start to assume the other person is too busy. There's a common scene that plays out for many men over 50. They think about a friend they haven't spoken to in years, scroll through old photos, smile at memories, and then put the phone down without sending a message. They tell themselves, he's probably busy, or if he wanted to talk, he'd reach out. What they don't realize is that the other person is thinking the same thing. Two good people who care about each other end up living parallel lives without crossing paths again. But something unexpected happens the moment one person decides to take the first step. A simple, honest message can reopen the door. "Hey, I was thinking about you today. How have you been?" It doesn't need to be complicated. It just needs to be sincere. Men underestimate how much other men crave connection. They think they're the only ones who feel lonely or disconnected. Yet when they do reach out, they're often surprised at the relief in the other person's voice. Friends aren't gone. They're waiting. Life after 50 can feel quieter, especially when kids grow up and careers slow down. But it's also a stage where friendship becomes even more valuable. Laughter hits differently when shared with someone who has known your history. Support feels deeper when it comes from a friend who has seen you struggle and rise again. Friendships don't fade from lack of love. They fade from lack of effort. A call made today may bring back years of connection. Sometimes, taking the first step doesn't just revive a friendship. It reminds you that you were never alone. Comfort feels safe. Routine feels predictable. By the time a man reaches his 50s, he has worked hard to build a life that feels stable. Same coffee, same route to the grocery store, same shows, same chair, same everything. After decades of stress and responsibility, comfort feels earned. The routines that once provided peace start to become a quiet trap. Not all at once. Slowly. Without warning. The days begin to blend into each other. Months go by without anything new to remember. Many men look back and realize that comfort made life smaller. They stopped trying new hobbies because they thought they were too old to start something new. They passed on invitations because being home felt easier. They stayed in the same patterns because change required energy. What they didn't see was how comfort was shrinking their world one decision at a time. The human mind needs challenge. It needs something to look forward to. When life becomes predictable, it also becomes dull. A man may wake up one morning and ask himself a question that feels heavier than expected. When was the last time I did something for the first time? There's a story of a man who always wanted to learn guitar. He kept telling himself he would start once things calmed down at work, once the kids were older, once he had more free time. Decades passed. He finally picked up a guitar at 63. The joy on his face was not about playing well. It was about finally choosing curiosity over comfort. He said, "I didn't realize how alive I could still feel." Comfort is not the enemy. It's only dangerous when it becomes the default. When men stop taking chances, they stop growing. When they stop growing, life stops surprising them. And without surprise, there are fewer moments worth remembering. Sometimes men confuse comfort with peace. Peace makes you feel grounded. Comfort makes you feel stuck. Peace gives energy. Comfort takes it. A routine built around comfort can become a slow withdrawal from life. The cost is not just lost experiences. The cost is emotional and social isolation. Trying something new does not have to be dramatic. It can be as simple as taking a new route, joining a weekend class, or calling someone you haven't spoken to in a long time. The point is movement. Motion brings life back into the body and mind. When men look back, they rarely regret the risks they took. They regret the ones they avoided. Comfort feels good in the moment, but connection, growth, and discovery give life meaning. The world outside the routine is still waiting. At some point in life, men realize that every financial decision carries more weight than it used to. In their 20s and 30s, there was always time to recover from mistakes. If they overspent, switched jobs, or bought something impulsively, they could bounce back. After 50, that sense of unlimited time fades. The focus shifts from earning more to protecting what's already there. Saving money becomes less about restriction and more about peace of mind. There's a moment when a man sits at the kitchen table, bills stacked neatly in front of him, and thinks about how much effort it took to build what he has. He remembers the overtime shifts, the missed family dinners, the years of stress. When he realizes how long it took to accumulate those savings, he becomes more intentional about where every dollar goes. Spending feels temporary. Security feels lasting. Men often talk about waking up one day and understanding that rebuilding money at this age requires energy they don't want to waste anymore. They start valuing habits like tracking expenses, planning ahead, and thinking about legacy. Saving isn't about fear. It's about freedom. It gives choices. It gives dignity. It gives the ability to help family without sacrificing stability. Men are often raised to believe that strength means holding everything together. Don't cry. Don't complain. Don't ask for help. By the time they reach their 50s, that habit becomes instinct. They protect their emotions like armor, thinking it makes them dependable. What they don't realize is that the wall they built to protect others also keeps others out. After years of silence, they discover something painful. Love doesn't grow in the presence of perfection. It grows in the presence of vulnerability. There's a moment many men remember with regret. Sitting across from a partner who asks, "What's really going on with you?" and instead of opening up, they shrug and say, "I'm fine." They think they're sparing their loved one from worry. Instead, they leave them feeling shut out. Later, they learn that sharing fears, doubts, hopes, and dreams doesn't burden the people who care. It brings them closer. When a man finally lets his guard down and says, "I need you," or "I'm scared," something shifts in the room. The connection becomes real. Partners soften. Children lean in. Friends open up in return. Love doesn't require a flawless man. It requires an honest one. Real strength is the courage to let yourself be seen. These truths are not regrets. They are reminders that life is still happening right now. If you're watching this, it means you still have time to reconnect. Time to learn. Time to be present. If you feel comfortable, share in the comments. Which truth hit you the most? Your story might encourage someone else who needed to hear it today. And if this video gave you something to think about, consider subscribing. We talk about life after 50, family bonds, and creating meaning in the years ahead.